This is the video showing what's new in ARDrone Flight Pro since the last time I've done a video, mainly covering new features in the app and some UI changes. We'll start off with CoPilot Mode. CoPilot Mode actually requires the addition of ARDrone Flight Combat, and so this is launching Combat into the listening server mode. You can actually set it to client mode as well. And when you get a Bluetooth connection, you launch ARDrone Flight. It automatically launches the Pro if you've got Pro installed. And there we have Flight running. And now we go to the menu system and we say Launch CoPilot. And what that does is talk to the CoPilot device over Bluetooth and launches the ARDrone Pro on the CoPilot device in CoPilot mode. And there you see CoPilot mode is indeed active. And now I'll just do a quick launch from the CoPilot. There you go, launch. Video link's a bit slow, but the Wi-Fi it's a bit down at the moment. Okay, so that was from the hosting point of view. Now from the client point of view. So we've launched CoPilot Combat on the client, and it's connected. And now when the master does a CoPilot launch, what you should see is it automatically launches the Pro into combat mode. And there you see CoPilot is active. You can't have a menu settings in this mode, but all the other information is being passed down from the master device. The master device would do the video recording, and what the CoPilot would do would be actually flying the drone. So you've got the head-up display, you've got all the information you know about the drone flying, and you've got Wi-Fi signal strength, but you haven't got video obviously. So now we'll just launch. There you see the altitude going up and velocity information. You've got 3D tracking and HUD moving, and you've got the signal strength and signal quality. Right, now I'll show you what the new offline settings mode. Basically it launches without a drone connection. You just cancel the dialog, go into see change settings offline. What that does is relaunch the app in offline only mode. You have to exit to connect to the drone again. But you can use all the offline settings, configure all the offline settings without having a drone. Okay, when you go into change, you obviously see it says offline mode, but you can go into all the settings and make changes here. Right, first of these new settings is the ability to use a 3G Wi-Fi dongle. Basically you can plug it into the drone or use a MiFi type thing on the drone. You choose 3G connection, and then you can set up your settings for the 3G Wi-Fi access point, and you set up the SSID, the access point gateway IP. So basically this is you set your Wi-Fi access point to have a different IP from 192.168.1.1, and you configure that there. And then if you have to be connected for the drone Wi-Fi at the next step to work, and I'm obviously here demonstrating in offline mode, but basically if you click on modify drone to use 3G Wi-Fi access point, it does a temporary setting to the drone, and the drone will then reconnect to the access point Wi-Fi, and you'd want to set a different IP address. You want to set here the IP address of your 3G access Wi-Fi, and at that point you can then connect to your 3G drone over 3G connection. Right, the other next to new is the ability to get a list of firmware and actually roll back the firmware on your drones. I'll show you here with a V1 drone, but then if you select the V2 drone option, checkbox, tick, and then press the firmware download again. You get a list of V2 firmware. So that's the current list hosted on my site. These are unmodified Parrot firmware, but not necessarily officially released by Parrot. So you go, downloading, and you should see that the ability to switch between the two different firmware versions that are downloaded. Yep. Right. Next we have the ability to, well, some of the new UI settings that I've added. First of all, with the joystick. Gamepad mode is ability to turn off the on-screen joysticks when you're flying over using a USB gamepad or a Bluetooth gamepad. So we'll go back to the display with the gamepad controls. There you go, you see that both the on-screen joysticks are now vanished. If I go back to default button press, save the changes. There we go, on-screen joystick back. Okay, now I'll show you the joystick motion option that's been added. Basically, if you touch the screen and tilt, it will show you tilt control, but I'm now just using my Bluetooth joystick gamepad to show the full with the current settings. So the idea is you change your dead zones, the sensitivities, and then you can check here with this screen how they actually have affected. So I'll just demonstrate that with the cyclic. So if I increase the cyclic dead zone, go back to joystick motion, then use the tilt control, you can see it's less jittery. So if I put it back up further, I have to move more before it actually starts moving. Trust me, a bit difficult to prove this, but yes, it does. It means basically the idea is that you can tweak the sensitivities, you can tweak the dead zones, and you can see how that affects the gamepad and tilt control inputs. You can see if I use the tilt control now, it's more jittery because it's not masking out the zero effects. Okay, so next we'll show you USB download. Basically what this means, if you're doing USB recordings on the drone, then you can optionally use the new settings to download the USB to your ARDrone Flight folder SD card, video folder on the SD card. So I'll just set it up so we've got USB local recordings both selected, and you can choose what you want recorded on the overlay recording. So overlay recordings always go to your local USB, local SD flight video folder, and I'll also turn on the ability to show USB transfer activity and actually show that you basically can configure the UI here. You can fully configure what UI you want visible, but I'll just show USB activity. Okay, you can see some of the buttons have changed now. Less visible buttons. I'll now do a recording. And you can see the USB remaining ticking down as it's doing USB recording. What it's actually doing is recording on USB and doing a local overlay recording at the same time. So you have the best of both worlds, high def USB and overlay on the local recording. Right. When you start recording, the drone is still doing conversion, so you basically want to wait for the drone to finish its conversion. You see this sort of brief flash of the LEDs on the drone as it's finishing, but it's not fully finished at that point. So if you then try and download USBs, it won't necessarily have transferred, but here you basically are having selected the dialog to show you USB activity. If you don't select it, then it will do it in the background. So, but there it was downloading. I've added a new press twice to exit option, by the way, as well. And in ARDrone Flight, go to the video folder. You see there's two files there now. So it's actually downloaded the video underscore folder is the one from the USB, and you can see it's much bigger. And the ARDrone video folder is a file is the overlay recording. So I'll show you the overlay recording first of all. There you can see overlay information, what I configured to show, and not quite so high resolution because it's only a 640 by 360 screen. And there you go, there's the full 720 video from the drone USB, and you all done from locally from an Android device. The final option I've added is custom layout. Basically, if you select the layout folder, you can see in there, and export, use the export option in the UI, you get an ARDrone layout XML. And this has got absolute coordinates, relative coordinates, and you can see from that file how I've configured the layout using to the left, to right, above and below. So you can choose how the UI elements are built up on the screen, and you can customize it. Basically, if you export, it will ask you, do you want to overwrite it? And if you have a problem, it will tell you there's a problem and it's reverted back, and then you just need to export again to go back to the default settings. So what I'll do here is I'll change the text alignment from the default, which is left, and I'll set it to right justified. Think of it as left, center, or right. It's like a word processor. So save that layout file, go back and launch the app. And you can see that the text now has been justified on the right. And this is information block 2 I was editing. And you can see that basically that gives you right justified text. Now it's not in the right place, so I'll just go back in and tweak the layout again to move the information. Okay, back into edit mode, down to the bottom, info block 2, and I'll change what its relative X position relative is. At the moment you can see it's aligned with the right joystick. And I'll change it to be basically aligned with the menu. And there you see it aligned with the menu, right justified rather than left justified. More information as usual on my website. Thanks for watching.